welcome to everyone to episode 202 of the Crafty Boys. And this
Indeed.
beer is trying us. It's testing us. It's testing our resolve.
It is.
Last
We're
week,
going way off the board.
where did we go last week, Alan?
Okay, so last week we attended Beer Fest. Now at the event this year, there's always some sort of a type of beer that's sort of like a main sort of player at this thing. You know, one year it was sours, another year it was hazy IPAs. This year it was the barrel aged beers. Barrel aged beers, for those who may not know, is where they take a regular beer and they age it in a barrel that used to house something like bourbon or whiskey or something like that. And the flavors from the spirit are then imparted onto the beer itself, adding a whole new dimension of flavor.
Yes.
So essentially, barrel aging can take a middling beer and make it fantastic. Would you say that is
a very diplomatic way of saying that? Because I think we all were thinking it, but we didn't want to say it out loud because we've had some beers that were barrel aged, and they were okay and they weren't terrible. But from that perspective of, we took some really crappy beer. We don't know what we did, but something screwed up in the brew. And look, we've got these barrels right here. Let's put the beer in those. And no one will know. It will be throwaway key. Now we just have beer that we will drink, and people will be like, I like the barrel aged flavor of this beer. It's not so bad, hiding the sin that we created before. So as you can tell, of course, Dave is on my side of the water.
Yes.
And he came by today and said, "Hey, I forgot my beer." No, he forgot his beer. We did this thing last Saturday after Beer Fest. We decided the beer that we should have. Alan was like, "Let's try this one." And we said, "Great, let's do that." And then there was like this long, we had to drive to like 400 different locations to find it. We did. And then we split it up and we gave some to Alan, some to myself, and some to Dave. Did Dave think to bring his? No, he did not. So he's drinking my beer. So there you go.
Okay, so we're going a bit off the board here.
What you just said.
So what we're going to do is we're going to see just how good a beer can become if it's barrel aged. This is a beer that I've seen on the shelves for a while. I've wanted to try it. It only comes in 20 packs. It is the Budweiser Copper, which is Budweiser that's been barrel aged in Jim Beam staves. So Jim Beam,
by the way, I've actually been to Jim Beam's location.
Oh, have you?
A few years back. It's quite extensive and quite massive, and it was quite delicious.
So now this one here, the Copper Lager from Budweiser, comes in at 6.2%, which is a product of it being barrel aged. So I guess by U.S. standards, that would make this thing a malt liquor, wouldn't it?
Oh, crap. I'm spilling beer on the floor.
All right. So I'm going to open up my can here.
All right.
Let's see. Oh, that's dark. I'm surprised at how dark that is.
Very.
Okay, so I've got my new Red Arrow glass here. So I'm going to be using this. So I picked this up on the weekend.
So there's the head.
Nice. You went to the brewery there, Alan?
The clarity is really high. You can actually see right through it. It is very amber. Although in your glass, it looks way darker. Is that just...
It's more than amber.
Probably just how the glass is curved, but yeah.
I would say, and that is a nice head.
Yeah,
I think I poured it pretty well. It's a nice head, very sort of like caramel kind of color. A little bit of lacing going on.
You can smell the barrel. You can smell the barrel.
It's very overpowering with the whole. The Jim Beam product is so powerful that it has really done its job well. You can't even taste the beer. Like, that's how strong this is in flavor, which is not a terrible thing. But you get that oaky taste to it, and that sort of really feels heavy, but not.
Wow, color me shocked.
Well, to be honest, I mean, if this is, I've read a little bit about it, about how it is just plain Jane Budweiser lager that's been run through the barrels. I'm curious how long these have been sitting for. I couldn't find any information about how.
I can't imagine very long.
Like, it must be at least a few months, but they don't really give you any idea.
Oh, I would be surprised if it's that long. Like, I'm thinking like maybe a week.
Oh, it's got to be longer than a week. You're not going to get the flavors out that fast, are you?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, Budweiser needs to turn around their product pretty quickly, right? I mean, I don't think they can afford to have it aging. I mean, it would cost a lot more than $20 for a 20-pack. Or for a 12-pack, sorry.
Is it 12? They come in cases of 12. That's a good question. I actually don't know. I'd like to know more about how the process actually is, but it seems to be a guarded secret, or at least Budweiser doesn't care on their website about it. But or not that they don't care, that they just don't. They're not that. They don't give you deep information about the creation of their product. They just like to hide the sin. So
regardless, though, of all that,
Jim Beam
I've had Budweiser before. I'm not a fan of Budweiser.
We've all had it. Have you ever had Budweiser?
I think so. The murky, distant past.
Yeah, same. Like, very much I don't know, just like a whatever,
Let me put it to you this way: if somebody offered me a Budweiser for free, I'd probably turn them down.
That is true. I would do the same if I had a Now, if you're on a desert island, and somebody said, "Hey, I got a couple of cold buds here. You want one?" Yeah, you'd think so. Yeah, okay, I'll have one.
I'd probably drink the salt water.
Pardon me while you pop the can open, you dump the beer out, you urinate into the can, you drink that instead. Okay, I see what you're talking about. I can do it.
It would taste better. But this is really good. Like, I'm enjoying. Like, I would buy this again.
I would get it again too. It is a specialty product. The people at the liquor store did say that it was a limited product, and something I learned, which I probably knew in the past but have since forgotten, is that if you notice on the BC liquor store website, any product that they have that ends in 7, so 597 or that kind of idea. Mm-hmm. The means the product is disappearing and going out and never going to be, and at least at that point is probably not going to be purchased or stocked again. So
in other words, if you want to get it now.
Pretty much. I mean, this particular beer though was 90, whatever, 1997 or 21.9, whatever the price was, but it was 97 cents. So they did say that this particular product was not going to be returning. The guy did say, but he thought it was actually a short run product, so that they probably can't get it anyway because Budweiser wasn't making it or had made it, but they weren't making it anymore. So it's still on their website. At least a few days ago it was. So
yeah.
But that might mean that it's
they did present it as a limited run to try to cash in on the whole barrel age craze that's been going on this year. Because frankly, they're losing market share to craft breweries. So they want to cash in on some of that.
Sorry?
So they want to cash in on some of that.
Oh, totally. I mean, the big thing with the whole craft brewing thing, as we already know, is that it's pushing a lot of the big, like the InBev products that have been around for a long time. At least in local markets, like markets that are very, say, you move to, insert town name here, and a local brewery opens. Mm-hmm. So suddenly you've got an audience that might actually go, you know what? I normally would have gone to blah, blah, blah to buy some Wildcat. But I'm going to actually go, I'm going to go down the street to the brewery where the socialization component happens. You can go there and you can actually hang out with people you might know. And I mean, we did that today.
Might not know.
Well, or might not know. Exactly.
I met some fresh people tonight.
That's true, because we went across the street to the Red Truck Brewery, and we met up with some people after going to an art show. And then, we enjoyed what did I have? I had
You had the BLT.
No, the beer. I forgot what I had. It was not a hazy IPA. It was a...
Northwest IPA?
Northwest IPA. You're right. I forgot. I can't think of the name of it. But anyway.
It was good.
It was really good. And you had what? You had something else.
Yeah, it was...
Something similar.
It was a dark lager?
It was the dark lager, yeah. Which again, the vanilla thing, the
Vienna,
deep? Not vanilla, Vienna deep, yes.
Something like your deep.
I was gonna say vanilla lager, but that'd be weird.
Woo!
Although I have had beer that was made with it was a what is it? The tea. You take milk and you steam the milk and you put
Chai.
London
Rory
Fog.
Calhoun.
Rory Calhoun.
I was saying Rory Calhoun. I was saying Boo Earns.
But anyways, it's a London Fog is you take black tea and you make it fancy with some other.
That's
flavors.
racist.
Anyway, the point is, Faculty Brewing does that a lot. They mix a lot of their beers with tea, or coffee and things like that. So they have some standards, but the standards don't stick around, all the time. So anyway, Alan, you were going to say.
Let's give this okay. So last week we did our first rating of a beer out of 5. So let's do that again with this.
Last week.
Oh shit! I think it was
last week we gave ours a 2 out of 5 across.
2 out of 5. Okay.
Now remember, we can go into decimal places and stuff. I'm gonna give this one
2.0041. Let me tell you why. As you can tell by the blackboard behind me,
I'm going to give this one a 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah, I could go with that. I would
go with 3.5, 8216142.
Let's just go 3.5.
Okay. We'll round down.
Yeah, I could go 3.5. Yeah, I could go with that because we don't necessarily love the I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. We don't necessarily love the core product.
No.
We love how they've messed with it.
The core product would probably get a 1 from me.
Really?
So it goes from being a 1 to a 3.5 when it's barrel aged. Dave, what do you give it?
I kind of want to say 2.
Really?
And to be fair, I think it's because of the one barrel aged I had, and I was just amazed, loved it.
We'll talk about that one in a minute.
That experience.
We'll talk about that one in a minute. But I mean, compared to. Okay, so I mean, we've had a few barrel aged things, and obviously you've had one that you really, really, really like. So you're going to give this one a 2 based on barrel aged or based on overall?
That is a good question.
Overall.
That is a very good question.
Yeah, I'm going to say overall.
Overall, yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to tabulate the scores here. So we got 3.5 plus 3.5 plus a 2 divided by 3. That comes out to a solid 3 across the board, an average score of 3 out of 5 for us, which, considering the original product and what we know that it would probably rank as probably a 1, that's quite an improvement. So I think this kind of shows that if done properly, you could turn a bad beer into at least a good beer through barrel aging.
You know, that's actually something I should try with beer, because you can actually buy, speaking of Jim Beam, you can actually buy oak chips or oak shards, which essentially means that it's the barrels have been destroyed and mashed up into pieces.
Oh.
And you can put them into wine, and you can get that oak flavor of wine. However, you could probably do the same thing with home brewing. Like I have never really thought of it till you just mentioned it. So that actually would be kind of cool to actually take that beer and take any beer and say, you know what? It's usually I like to make amber / dark sort of beers, but soak some shards or chips from a Jim Beam barrel and let that soak for a while and see what happens. So
it's so enjoyable. I'm gonna have a second.
Wow.
Okay.
You're lucky it's Thursday, man.
Yeah.
So let's now talk about Beer Fest. Beer Fest happened in Victoria, BC last week. Dave was there for the very first time. Alan has been there a little bit longer than I have, and I think that was my 6th or 7th year. I can never remember.
I'm thinking 7th.
It was my 7th. Yeah. So basically, what you do is you go to you go to Victoria if you want to be there, meet up with us by all means. But it takes place at the Royal Athletic Park, and it's a big outdoor event where all of the breweries are under these tents, and there's usually 4 breweries per tent. And you take tokens, which, by the way, I still have some tokens.
What?
That I'll bring next year. And you then, of course, go and taste. You get 4 ounces of beer per token, and you get to taste a variety of beers that most of the beer that I noticed there this year, at least of the breweries I'm familiar with, they had either entirely brand new beer that I've never seen before, or they had like 1, maybe 2 that were regular beers that you could get at they normally create, and maybe a specialty beer. And of course, then they have the random casks, which are beers that, it's like they trip over one night going, hey, we should totally make that beer into something, because if we don't, we're gonna throw it out. So let's call it, throw some bubble gum in it, and we'll call it the Wastrel Bubblelicious, and then that'll be the cask for Friday. So
Cask.
So yeah, I mean it's a process. So how did we all think of it this year? I mean, I enjoyed myself. Alan?
Oh, I thought it was great. Lots of improvements this year over previous years. We'll go into those. Dave, what did you think?
I enjoyed myself. Yeah. And
are you glad you finally came?
It was the first year. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Would you go again?
Beanbags. Yes, we played with our bags.
Oh, that's right. Yes, we actually we played. There's actually a name for the game. We would take beanbags and you throw them into these whole things. I cannot think of it. Kind of like horseshoes, but not.
Yeah.
But anyway, Dave lost horribly on the first game, and then I lost horribly.
I don't know about horribly.
Well, I lost horribly the second game. So,
anyways, we actually split 1 apiece.
So we have to have a rematch next year. So next year we'll be doing a rematch. Dave, that means you have to come.
You know what I wanted to play? There was another brewery there that had this big, huge plastic Connect 4 thing with the chips that you put in. It's like pretty sneaky, sis. I wanted to play that.
If you remember the commercials from back then.
The same
Connect 4
had Jenga.
Yeah, that's true. I did see a Jenga. But overall,
not the game to play if you have open-toed shoes.
That's true. Of all the beers you had, what are the beers or even just one that you recall being the best?
Dave.
Bet the one that you enjoyed the most. Maybe not the best beer, but the one you enjoyed the most.
I already know what his answer is.
Mine was surprisingly that nitro coffee from
Smithers.
Sorry,
Okay.
The Smithers Brewing Co. Which I went back for seconds on that one.
Did you?
I try to stay away from seconds, but I did. So, yeah, I have to say
it was very good, very creamy.
That one,
yeah,
because that one really stood out. Because normally when I've had the coffee, and you two are like the coffee guys, you love that stuff. I don't mind it either, but this was the first one I had and thought, this is perfect. They did it perfectly. They marry the flavors in such a way that everything worked together. And the coffee was perfect. It was beautiful. It was like they made the perfect coffee and they stuck it in a really nice, compatible brew. So it was beautiful. You really tasted the coffee, but it wasn't overpowering, bitter, any of the negative stuff that comes along with a crappy coffee, you know?
Right.
It was perfect.
It was actually. I really enjoyed that one. I think it possibly could have been because it was the only nitro beer product that was offered at the festival this year. My favorite, and I don't think you guys actually tried this, was from
I was trying to hold that one in. You were saying
was from Fuggles of Warlock. Was their Limoncello Pilsner, which was a Pilsner with
was that the one that
Limoncello liquor in it, and it was amazing. It was a really, really solid entry into the show. It was almost like, I think Dave would have really dug it because it was almost like a shandy or something, you know, but it wasn't weak like a shandy is.
Because you're not a sweet kind of guy.
Well, no, I am a sweet kind of guy in certain situations, but this one wasn't sweet. It
in certain situations when I have a chainsaw and I'm running down the road. I have a mask on and I'm saying things like skin. I don't know why I pictured that. That's what I picture Alan doing. Running down the middle of like a major thoroughfare with a chainsaw and a
mask. I do have to give
that one then, because that does sound really good.
Now, I do want to point out that, Dave, I'm kind of surprised that your favorite one was not the bourbon barrel-aged quad from Tatamagouche from Nova Scotia.
We did.
I remember you were really big on that one. And I did try it. I thought it was a little bit too sweet for me as far as the barrel-aged beer goes. But that was a good one. I also want to give honorable mention to Moon Underwater, who had their barrel-aged wheat wine. I thought that was quite good. It was very different. There was nothing else that was like that at the show, unless you managed to get the from Driftwood. They had their barley wine that's there.
I can't think of the name. I know what you're. Yeah. I can see it. This is the problem when you go to Beer Fest. You start to remember things by sight because it's like I want that one. And I really like the gin and tonic one that I had, which I cannot remember who made that.
Was that from Red Racer?
No, Red Racer was the old fashioned, I think.
Right.
Yeah, and I would say the old fashioned. I think I had two of those too. So I really enjoyed that one.
Was that the gin and juice from Hoyne?
Yes, the gin and juice.
That was the first one that we had, actually.
Yeah. I enjoyed that one. I think mainly because I like gin and tonic. It's always a good thing. But I also like old fashions, so that
Right.
was particularly enjoyable because um, I just do. I don't know why. But it had like it tasted like an old fashioned, and I mentioned to you at the time that it wasn't as good as, but it was very similar to that one that we had from 49th Parallel at the last Christmas case. So,
Yeah.
and I think I actually I went to the liquor store about I don't know a week after Christmas, and I went and I grabbed some of the cans, some more of those. So
Right.
um,
I also want to give a shout out to Howl Brewing. We tried their Reishi Mushroom Hibiscus Lager. Quite enjoyable. It was probably the most different brew that was available at the show this year. I was expecting sort of a more of an earthy kind of flavor, and I'm glad that it wasn't. I thought it was going to be like picking up a pile of dirt and shoving it in my mouth. It wasn't that at all. It was quite flavorful and quite enjoyable. We missed out on a couple of beers. The Category 12 Bourbon Whiskey Sour Cask was gone by the time we got
I
to it.
remember standing there, and we actually walked up, and the cask had changed. So
Yeah. Well, the cask was completely gone, actually. And I was really disappointed because one of the beers that I really wanted to try ended up not being there. From Crossroads Brewing, their Peanut Butter Cup Stout Cask was not offered as advertised.
Yeah.
So
did that happen? Did it show up on Saturday?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I'm thinking no. For whatever reason, that was probably just a misprint in the guide or whatever, but it ended up not being there.
Or somebody was like, I got the cask. I'll take it out to the truck. I'm not taking it to the truck. It's in the drain. The cask broke.
The dog's drinking it.
The dog has it. Yeah, I mean that kind of stuff happens. I mean, especially with casks because they don't keep them cold on the way over. Because the weird thing that I've noticed is I don't know what time they start arriving at the field, but there's definitely there's probably a few times where they've lost things or stuff didn't turn out quite right, or
yes, absolutely,
because they have to put them into the barrels of ice and things, and if they don't do that in enough time, then the good thing I liked this year was they had a water company of some sort who basically they took water and did reverse osmosis on it, and then did something. They peed in it or something. There was something afterwards that they did to reinvigorate the mineral levels or something in the water. But that was cool because they were giving away water for free. So, if you were if you were a little parched or needed a break, that was actually quite refreshing because I stopped there a couple times to get some water.
I quite enjoyed it.
I think you and I both did it. Yeah. So that I liked. I was impressed. I haven't seen that before, except for like a few of those standing things, like water jugs that they have sometimes. But that was like a full on. They had 2 stations, and you could go there and whatnot. So
a couple other things that I really enjoyed that were improvements in the show this year was the ability to pay by something other than cash for your tokens, and the fact that they spread out the show a little bit more so the crowd is less concentrated. It seemed, I don't think it was any less busy than it has been in previous years, but you had more room to move. And I think that's.
I was thinking that too, because I remember last year because they had like 40 less breweries or so, or anyway, just about, that you were able to go there and actually, they kind of jammed them all at the one end of the field. So anyway, I don't know.
Weird, because they took the whole field.
Yeah, but the year before there was a big gap right by the baseball diamond.
Okay.
They had a big tent for sitting down eating food, but then there was this big space between there and sort of the first breweries. I mean, they were trying to use the whole field, but they were, they compacted the other stuff. So yeah, I mean, I totally see what you're saying.
But I was pleasantly surprised by that, because one of the things I was worried about was that it was going to be a cramped situation, and you're going to be, muscling around to get around the field and into the various.
I don't think it's ever been like that in any of the years that I've gone. It's certainly less compacted this year, but it was by no means shoulder to shoulder in previous years or anything like that.
Yeah. No, it was really nice. It was busy, and you never, as Shane was saying, you never felt crowded. It was really nice. If you wanted to go and chill out in the tents, lots of room, always a few seats available for you to sit down and relax for a bit. You never felt like it had it was a really nice chill vibe.
Yeah.
Everybody seemed to be having a good time. Nobody was getting in anybody else's face, anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bad way to spend an evening.
So the big question is, though, Dave, are you going to go next year? And all you have to do is say, yes, I am.
It would be good to go.
Oh, he's deflecting. Deflection. You should be a politician, Dave.
Don't make promises you can't keep.
Well, in your case, you don't make any promises of any kind.
Because if you don't keep them,
you can always change your plans, Dave. You can always change your plans. But anyway, so on that note, thank you all for coming by, checking us out. Make sure that you go to the Victoria Great Canadian Beer Fest in Victoria, because if you go next year and the year after, you'll probably have gone more times than Dave. But that's okay, because make sure you tell people about the show. Do all the social sharing that you could ever do. And also, if you want to, send us suggestions. We have an email address on our website, or just send us stuff on Twitter, or just use the power of your mind to tell us.
We accept panties, don't we?
We accept pennies?
Panties.
Oh, sure. You could send those too. Just send them directly to Dave. And as always, we are usually here on Wednesdays. Today is Thursday, of course, but today's a special thing because of this guy. And we'll see you next week with whatever beer we come up with. As always, Alan, take us out.